The massive doors of the council chamber slid open with a soft hiss. Kim Tae-ho walked forward, his black uniform crisp and clean. Behind him came General Park Do-won and weapons engineer Lee Na-ri. Their footsteps echoed in the huge room. The chamber was built for giants. Curved walls stretched up toward a domed ceiling covered in stars. Around them sat the most powerful beings in the galaxy. Each species had their own section, their own strange shapes and colors. The Saurid Empire held the center position. Admiral Vextar stood nearly 3 meters tall. His scales were dark green, almost black. Yellow eyes watched the humans with cold interest. His claws tapped against the metal table. To his left sat the insectoid hive. Queen Zelnara's 4 arms moved, constantly. Her compound eyes reflected the chamber's lights like broken glass. Worker drones buzzed around her massive form. The crystalline Vorthak occupied the right side. Their bodies were made of living crystal that caught and bent light into rainbow patterns. They spoke in musical tones that rang like wind chimes. Behind them, the luminari flickered like living lightning. Their forms were pure energy held together by force fields. They had no fixed shape, just crackling power that hurt to look at directly. The gaseous nebuloids were barely visible. They existed as clouds of colored gas that shifted and swirled. Sometimes faces would appear in the mist, then fade away. Kim Tae-ho stopped at the speaking platform. The 3 humans looked very small in the vast chamber. They were the only solid, normal-looking beings in sight. Admiral Vextar's voice boomed across the room. Humans of the planet Earth, you have been called here to receive judgment from the Galactic Confederation. The translator device in Kim Tae-ho's ear turned the alien words into Korean. Then his brain processed them as English. He kept his face calm and waited. Your species has spread to 12 worlds without permission, Vextar continued. You have built weapons without approval. You have ignored our messages for 50 years. This was true. Humanity had been exploring space since 2157. They had found empty worlds and built colonies. They had also found signs of the Galactic Confederation, but had chosen to avoid contact. The Confederation offers you 2 choices, the Saurid Admiral said. His forked tongue flicked out to taste the air. Submit to our rule and become a protected species. Your worlds will be governed by us. Your weapons will be destroyed. Your expansion will stop. Queen Zelnara's multiple voices joined in. They created a strange harmony that made the humans' teeth ache. Or face pacification. We will remove the threat you represent to galactic peace. General Park Do-won stepped forward. His gray hair was cut short in military style. Old scars marked his hands from years of fighting. And the second choice? The chamber erupted in sounds. The crystalline Vorthak chimed like breaking glass. The luminary crackled with electricity. Even the nebuloids swirled faster, showing flashes of angry red in their clouds. There is no second choice, primitive, Vextar snarled. You submit, or you die. Lee Na-ri adjusted her glasses. She was younger than the other 2 humans, with long black hair tied back neatly. Her mind was always working, always calculating. What if we prove we're not a threat? What if we show you our capabilities in a fair test? More laughter echoed through the chamber. The sound came from dozens of alien throats and energy forms. A test? Queen Zelnara's worker drones buzzed with amusement. What could you possibly show us that we have not seen? Your species still uses chemical rockets. You still burn fossil fuels. You still kill each other over pieces of land. The lead crystalline Vorthak, whose name sounded like breaking ice, spoke in bell-like tones. We have watched your primitive wars. You throw metal at each other. You use explosions to move bullets. It is amusing to observe. Your most advanced weapon, added a luminari, whose voice was like static electricity, moves at less than 1,000 meters per second. Our plasma bolts travel at light speed. Your metal cannot even scratch our energy shields. Admiral Vextar gestured with one massive claw. Show them. A Saurid warrior stepped into the center of the chamber. He was smaller than the Admiral, but still towering over the humans. Blue energy flickered around his body. A personal shield generator hummed on his belt. The warrior pulled out a handheld device. It looked like a crystal wrapped in metal bands. He pointed it at the far wall and pulled a trigger. A beam of pure blue light shot across the chamber. Where it struck the wall, metal turned to glowing liquid and dripped to the floor. The hole was perfectly round, edges still glowing red-hot. Plasma rifle, Vexitar said with pride. Temperature of 10,000 degrees, range of 5 kilometers, powered by fusion cells that last for months. Another alien stepped forward. This one belonged to a species the humans had not seen before. Its body was covered in biomechanical armor that seemed alive. Tubes and wires pulsed with green fluid. Biodisruptor, the creature announced. It raised a weapon that looked like it was grown rather than built. Organic curves and chitinous plates covered its surface. The weapon made no sound when fired. A green wave spread through the air like ripples in water. Where it touched the already damaged wall, the metal began to rust and crumble. In seconds, a section of wall 5 meters wide had turned to dust. It destroys molecular bonds, the bio-armored alien explained. Living tissue dies instantly. Metal becomes powder. Stone crumbles to sand. The demonstrations continued. The Luminari showed weapons that fired pure energy. The nebuloids released clouds of acid that ate through anything they touched. The crystalline Vorthak created blades of hardened light that could cut through spaceship hulls. Each weapon was more impressive than the last. Each one used technology that humanity could barely understand. The aliens made sure the humans saw every detail. When the show was over, Admiral Vextar spread his arms wide. This is what real weapons look like. This is the power of advanced civilization. Your species throws metal pellets powered by exploding powder. You are children playing with toys. Kim Tae-ho listened to everything. His face showed nothing. Years of diplomatic training had taught him to hide his thoughts, but inside his mind was racing. We understand your position, he said quietly. But humanity has one tradition that is very important to us. When someone challenges our strength, we prefer to prove ourselves in combat. The chamber fell silent. Every alien eye, crystal, and energy form focused on the human ambassador. Combat? Vextar's laugh was like rocks grinding together. You wish to fight us? With your primitive metal throwers? A simple test, Kim Tae-ho replied. Your best warriors against our best warriors. If we lose, we accept your rule without question. If we win, we discuss terms as equals. Queen Zelnara's 4 arms waved in the air. This is madness. We could destroy your entire fleet with a single ship. Then you have nothing to lose, General Park Do-won said. His voice was steady and calm. Prove your superiority. Show the galaxy why they should fear the Confederation. The aliens looked at each other. Communications passed between them in frequencies the humans could not hear. Energy patterns flickered. Chemical signals were released into the air. Finally, Admiral Vextar smiled. His teeth were like rows of knives. Very well. We accept your challenge. It will be instructive for other species to watch humanity's final moments. The proving grounds of Nexus Station will serve, announced the lead crystalline. Standard combat rules. Last team standing wins. You may bring your best weapons, added a luminary with what might have been humor. Your metal throwers and chemical explosives. We are eager to see them in action. The nebuloid spokesperson materialized a face in their cloud. This will be over quickly. Perhaps we should invite spectators. Other species should see what happens. To those who refuse Confederation rule. Kim Tae-ho bowed slightly. We accept your terms. When do we begin? Tomorrow, Vextar declared. Prepare your warriors, humans. Choose your weapons carefully. It will be the last choice your species ever makes. As the 3 humans were escorted from the chamber, Lee Na-ri whispered to her companions. They have no idea what they just agreed to. General Park Do-won's smile was thin and cold. No, they really don't. Behind them, the aliens were already making plans for the spectacle. Ships were being called from across the galaxy. Important beings wanted to watch the primitive humans get crushed by superior technology. None of them noticed the small recording device that Kim Tae-ho had left behind. It would transmit everything back to Earth, where other humans were already preparing for war. The challenge had been accepted. The trap had been set. Tomorrow would change everything. Nexus Station floated in the void between 3 stars. The massive structure was built for war games and combat trials. Its proving grounds could simulate any environment in the galaxy. Today, beings from across known space had gathered to watch what they expected would be a very short fight. In the alien preparation chambers, 12 warriors made ready for battle. They represented the finest soldiers from 6 different species. Each one was a veteran of countless wars, armed with the most advanced weapons their civilizations could create. Commander Skarthak of the Saurid Empire checked his plasma rifle one final time. The weapon hummed with contained energy. Its fusion core could fire for hours without reloading. The targeting system could lock onto enemies from kilometers away. His armor was made from crystallized starship hull. It could stop laser blasts and deflect particle beams. Energy shields flickered around his massive frame, creating a bubble of protective force. "This is almost unfair," he rumbled to his companion. "The humans will be dead before they can fire a single shot." The second Saurid warrior, Velnara, flexed her claws. Biomechanical enhancements had replaced her natural weapons with vibrating metal blades. They could cut through any known material. "I hope some of them survive long enough to run," she hissed. Hunting terrified prey is more entertaining than target practice. Nearby, the insectoid champions prepared their equipment. Bioplasma flowed through organic weapons grafted to their carapaces. Their natural armor could absorb energy weapons and convert the power into strength. Worker warrior. Zixnal tested his acid spitters. The biological weapons could dissolve metal, stone, or flesh in seconds. His 4 arms could fire in different directions at once. "The humans smell of fear already," he clicked to his hive sister. "Their primitive chemical signatures are easy to detect." The crystalline Vorthak warriors were living weapons. Their bodies were made of materials harder than diamond. They could create blades, spears, or shields from their own substance. Prismith stood 3 meters tall, his crystal form refracting light into deadly beams. He had fought in the Nebula Wars, where entire star systems had been reduced to rubble. Human metal bullets would shatter against his hardened light barriers. The Luminary champions existed as pure energy. Physical matter passed right through them unless they chose to interact with it. Their lightning weapons could fry electronic systems or cook living tissue from the inside out. Flux Andra crackled with electricity as she spoke to her energy twin. "I wonder if we should lower our power output. We don't want to kill them too quickly." The nebuloid warriors were clouds of sentient gas contained in force fields. They could become solid when needed, or disperse to avoid attacks. Their acid weapons could eat through any material. Even the newer species had sent champions. The biomechanicals had replaced most of their organic parts with living machines. The energy parasites fed on power sources and could drain weapons dry. In the viewing chambers above, thousands of aliens watched the preparations. Bets were being placed on how quickly the humans would die. The odds were not favorable for Earth's warriors. Admiral Vextar sat in the place of honor, surrounded by other military leaders. "I give them 30 seconds, he declared. "Maybe less if they panic." Queen Zelnara's compound eyes focused on the human preparation area. "Look at their primitive equipment. Metal tubes and chemical explosives. It's like watching Stone Age creatures try to fight starships." The human preparation chamber was much smaller and quieter. 5 figures moved with calm efficiency, checking equipment that looked ancient compared to alien technology. Sergeant Kang Hyun-sik had fought in the Colony Wars and the Titan Rebellion. His weathered face showed no emotion as he loaded magazines into his rifle. The weapon was a simple design, a metal tube that used chemical explosives to throw bullets at high speed. Cho Minho lay on a bench, cleaning his sniper rifle with careful precision. The weapon was even more basic than the sergeant's gun. It could fire only 1 bullet at a time before needing to be reloaded manually. Han Soo-jin assembled her assault rifle with practiced movements. Her hands moved without her eyes watching. muscle memory guiding every motion. The weapon could fire, in bursts, but each bullet was still just metal and chemical propellant. Yoon Jae-sung arranged his explosives in neat rows: hand grenades, demolition charges, and smoke canisters. Everything was mechanical. Everything relied on chemical reactions that had been known for centuries. Baek So-young checked her medical kit, then her sidearm. As the team medic, she carried a simple pistol for self-defense. It held only 15 bullets before needing a new magazine. Their equipment looked primitive because it was. No energy shields, no plasma weapons, no biomechanical enhancements. Just metal, gunpowder, and human determination. "The aliens think we're using museum pieces," Han Soo-jin said quietly. She spoke in Korean, knowing the alien translators couldn't understand. "Let them think that," replied Kang Hyun-sik. He inserted a fresh magazine into his rifle with a soft click. Overconfidence has killed more enemies than any weapon. In the viewing chambers, the mockery continued. Alien commanders pointed at human equipment displays and laughed. Some species had weapons that were older than human civilization. Earth's finest technology looked like children's toys. "Are those chemical propellant weapons?" asked a crystalline observer. The sound was like wind chimes in a storm. "I thought those were extinct." "Primitive kinetic projectiles," answered a biomechanical commander. Living wires pulsed under his artificial skin. "My ancestors used similar weapons before they evolved beyond such crude methods." A luminary flickered with amusement. "Watch how slowly their bullets travel. Our shield generators can track and deflect objects moving at those speeds." The betting pools grew larger as more aliens arrived. Some wagered on how many seconds the humans would survive. Others bet on which alien warrior would score the first kill. A few wise observers noted the humans' calm behavior. Most primitive species panicked when faced with superior technology. These humans moved like professionals, like soldiers who had seen combat before. But their concerns were dismissed. What did experience matter against plasma rifles and energy shields? What could training do against warriors who could turn invisible or become living lightning? The arena began to form around the combat zone. Holographic projectors created a realistic battlefield with hills, valleys, and scattered buildings. The environment would change during the fight, testing both sides' ability to adapt. Weapon scanners analyzed every piece of equipment carried by both teams. The alien weapons registered as extreme threats, devices capable of melting starship armor or dissolving molecular bonds. The human weapons barely registered at all. Simple chemical firearms with metal projectiles. The scanners classified them as minimal threat and technological curiosity. In the human chamber, Baek So-young made one final equipment check. Her rifle was loaded, her medical supplies were organized, and her communications gear was working perfectly. "Remember the briefing," she said to her teammates. "They've been fighting energy weapons for thousands of years. Their tactics, their armor, their shields, everything is designed for beam weapons and plasma bolts. But not for bullets," added Cho Min-ho. He shouldered his sniper rifle and checked the scope one last time. "When was the last time any of them faced kinetic weapons?" "Never," answered Kang Hyun-sik. "That's why this will work." The arena's announcement system activated. Alien voices in a dozen languages informed the spectators that combat would begin in 5 minutes. The betting pools closed. The crowds grew quiet with anticipation. In the alien preparation area, warriors performed final rituals and weapon tests. Plasma beams scorched practice targets. Energy shields flickered to life around armored forms. Bioweapons dripped with deadly substances. They moved toward the arena entrance with confidence. This would not be a battle. It would be an execution. The primitive humans had no chance against galactic military technology. The human team moved out in single file. Their equipment was simple, their weapons were old, and their armor was basic ballistic protection. By every measure that mattered, to galactic civilization they were hopelessly outmatched. But they had something the aliens had forgotten about in their thousands of years of energy weapon warfare. They had the element of surprise, and they knew exactly how to use it. The arena doors opened. The greatest military minds in the galaxy prepared to watch humanity's final moments. None of them realized they were about to witness the beginning of a new age of warfare. The holographic battlefield materialized around them like a living dream. Rolling hills covered in alien grass stretched to the horizon. Strange trees with silver leaves caught light from 3 artificial suns. A ruined city lay scattered across the landscape, its broken towers providing cover and vantage points. Kang Hyun-sik stepped onto the field with his 4 teammates. Their boots crunched on synthetic soil that felt real enough to fool their senses. The air carried scents of ozone and distant rain. 800 meters away, 12 alien warriors emerged from their entrance. Even at that distance, their forms were impressive. Plasma weapons glowed like colored stars. Energy shields flickered around armored bodies. Some aliens were barely visible, existing as gas or energy. The arena's announcement system counted down, in multiple languages. Alien spectators leaned forward in their seats. Thousands of beings from across the galaxy prepared to watch humanity's first and final military demonstration. 60 seconds to combat initiation, the artificial voice declared. Cho Min-ho immediately moved toward higher ground. His sniper rifle was already in his hands, scope covers removed. He found a position behind fallen rubble that gave him clear sight lines across the battlefield. Han Soo-jin went left, using the ruins for concealment. Her assault rifle was loaded with armor-piercing rounds. The magazines on her belt contained different ammunition types for different targets. Yoon Jae-sung moved right, his pack full of explosives. He began placing charges at choke points and potential enemy routes. Each device was small but precisely positioned for maximum effect. Baek So-young found a central location with good cover. As the team medic, she needed to be ready to help anyone who got hurt. Her rifle was loaded and ready, but her main job was to keep the others alive. Kang Hyun-sik stayed in the middle, coordinating his team through hand signals and whispered commands. His rifle was an older model, reliable and familiar. He had carried similar weapons through 3 different wars. The alien team moved very differently. They advanced together in a loose formation, confident in their superior technology. Their weapons powered up with humming sounds and flashing lights. Commander Skarthak led the group. His plasma rifle could punch through starship armor. Energy shields surrounded him like a personal force field. He had fought in dozens of campaigns against species that used energy weapons. The insectoid warriors scuttled on multiple legs, their bioplasma weapons already dripping with acidic substances. Worker warrior Zixnal tasted the air with chemical sensors searching for human fear pheromones. Prismeth of the crystalline Vorthak began creating light barriers around the group. Hardened photons formed invisible walls that could stop any energy weapon. His crystalline body refracted rainbow patterns across the battlefield. The luminary champions existed as crackling electricity. Fluxandra and her energy twin could move at light speed when needed. Their lightning weapons could fry electronics, or cook flesh from the inside out. The nebuloid warriors were barely visible clouds of colored gas. They could become solid or disperse at will. Their acid weapons could dissolve any known material in seconds. 30 seconds to combat initiation. In the viewing chambers above, the mockery continued. Alien military leaders pointed at human equipment displays with amusement. Some beings had never seen such primitive technology in actual use. "Look at their formation," laughed Admiral Vextar. His yellow eyes tracked the human movements. "They're spreading out like they expect a real fight." Queen Zelnara's compound eyes focused on the human sniper. "That one is climbing to high ground. Does he think his metal thrower can reach across the battlefield?" A crystalline observer made wind chime sounds of amusement. "Their bullets move at less than 1,000 meters per second. Our warriors can dodge projectiles that slow." "This will be educational," added a biomechanical commander. Wires pulsed under his artificial skin. "Other primitive species will learn what happens when they resist Confederation rule." The betting pools had closed with overwhelming odds against humanity. Most aliens wagered the fight would be over in less than 1 minute. A few optimistic bets gave the humans as long as 5 minutes. 10 seconds to combat initiation. The human team made final preparations. Cho Min-ho found his target and estimated range and wind. Han Soo-jin checked her weapon safety and selector switch. Yoon Jae-sung armed his explosives with remote detonators. The alien warriors powered up their weapons to full capacity. Energy. Signatures spiked as plasma rifles reached combat temperature. Bioweapons secreted their deadliest toxins. Force fields strengthened to maximum protection. 5 seconds. Kang Hyun-sik spoke quietly into his radio. Remember, they've never faced bullets before. Their shields are tuned for energy weapons. Their tactics are based on beam warfare. 4 seconds. The aliens began advancing across the open ground. They moved with confidence, treating this as a training exercise rather than real combat. Their formation was loose, designed for fighting other energy weapon users. 3 seconds. Cho Min-ho controlled his breathing, finger resting lightly on his trigger. 800 meters was a long shot, but well within his capabilities. The alien commander made an excellent target. 2 seconds. The artificial suns cast strange shadows across the battlefield. Alien weapons hummed and crackled with contained power. Human weapons were silent, their chemical potential waiting to be released. 1 second. In that final moment before combat began, the two sides could not have looked more different. The aliens glowed with energy, surrounded by force fields and advanced technology. The humans were dark shapes hiding behind cover, armed with weapons that used principles older than spaceflight. Combat initiated. The first plasma bolt lit up the battlefield like a miniature star. It struck a boulder near Han Soo-jin's position and turned solid rock into glowing liquid. The temperature was hot enough to melt steel. More energy weapons fired in rapid succession. Blue plasma, green bioacids, and crackling lightning painted the arena in brilliant colors. The alien team advanced steadily, their weapons creating a light show that dazzled the spectators. The humans did not return fire immediately. They remained hidden, moving carefully from cover to cover. To the watching aliens, it looked like the primitive species was already retreating in terror. "They're running," laughed a sordid officer in the viewing chamber. "The cowards won't even fight." But professional soldiers recognized the movement pattern. The humans were not retreating. They were maneuvering into position. Each movement was calculated. Each position was chosen for tactical advantage. Cho Min-ho settled behind his scope and found his target. Commander Skarthak was leading the alien advance, plasma rifle glowing in his clawed hands. Energy shields flickered around his massive form. The sniper estimated range at exactly 800 meters. Wind was minimal. Target was moving in a predictable pattern. His finger tightened on the trigger. The .338 Lapua Magnum cartridge contained 91 grains of propellant and a 250-grain copper-jacketed bullet. When ignited, the chemical explosion would accelerate the projectile to 900 meters per second. The aliens continued their advance, confident in their technological superiority. Their energy shields were rated against plasma weapons and particle beams. They had never been tested against simple kinetic projectiles. Prismeth created more light barriers as the team moved forward. The hardened photons could stop any energy weapon in the galactic arsenal. They were invisible to most sensors and virtually indestructible, but light barriers were designed to deflect energy. They had no interaction with physical matter moving at high velocity. The human team waited with perfect patience. Years of training had taught them when to shoot and when to hold fire. The aliens were still too far apart, still too mobile. They needed to wait for the perfect moment. In the viewing chambers, some observers began to notice the humans' unusual behavior. Most primitive species panicked when faced with advanced weapons. These humans moved like veterans, like soldiers who had seen real combat. "Why aren't they shooting back?" asked a young crystalline officer. "Probably too frightened," replied her commander. Primitive species often freeze when confronted with superior technology, but a few experienced warriors recognized what they were seeing. The humans were not frozen with fear, they were hunting. Every movement was purposeful. Every position was chosen with tactical precision. The alien advance continued across the open battlefield. Plasma bolts scorched the ground around human positions. Bioacids ate through stone and metal. Lightning. Weapons crackled through the air, but the humans remained hidden, patient, waiting for their moment to strike. They had fought wars the aliens couldn't imagine. using weapons the galaxy had forgotten. They knew exactly what they were doing. The trap was set. The aliens were walking into it with complete confidence. Soon, very soon, the galaxy would remember why kinetic weapons had once ruled the battlefield. The rifle's report was sharp and clean in the alien air. 800 meters away, a copper-jacketed bullet traveling at 900 meters per second struck Prismeth's center mass. The crystalline warrior had been creating light barriers to protect his advancing teammates. His crystalline body was harder than diamond, evolved over millions of years to withstand energy weapons. But evolution had never prepared his species for kinetic impact. The bullet punched through his chest cavity like it was made of glass. Crystal fragments exploded outward in a shower of rainbow light. Prismeth's body shattered, pieces falling to the alien grass with musical chimes. The battlefield fell completely silent. Commander Scarthak stopped mid-step, staring at the remains of his ally. Glowing plasma rifle forgotten, he tried to understand what had just happened. Energy shields were designed to stop energy weapons. They had no effect on solid matter moving at high velocity. In the viewing chambers above, thousands of alien spectators sat in stunned silence. The betting pools had not even included options for immediate alien casualties. Prismeth was supposed to be nearly indestructible. What was that? Queen Zelnara's forearms waved frantically. What kind of weapon makes that sound? Admiral Vextar's yellow eyes searched the battlefield for the source of the attack. Human kinetic weapons made no light signature, no energy trace. The sniper was invisible to their sensors. Chemical propellant, whispered a biomechanical observer. Living wires pulsed faster under his artificial skin. They used a chemical explosion to accelerate a metal projectile. Impossible, declared a luminary commander. Her energy form flickered with disbelief. Kinetic weapons can't penetrate crystalline armor, but the evidence lay scattered across the grass in rainbow fragments. On the battlefield, the alien advance had stopped completely. For the first time in their military careers, these warriors faced an enemy they couldn't see, using weapons they didn't understand. Worker. Warrior Zixnal's chemical sensors detected something wrong. The scent signature was unlike any weapon. He knew. Hot metal, explosive residue, and the sharp smell of chemical propellant. Unknown weapon type. He clicked to his hive sister in the insectoid battle language. Energy shields ineffective. The nebuloid warriors tried to scan for the shooter, but their gas form senses were designed to detect energy signatures. The cow. Human sniper produced no electromagnetic emissions, no plasma trail, nothing their technology could track. Cho Minho worked his rifle's bolt action, ejecting the spent cartridge and chambering a fresh round. The motion was smooth and practiced. He had done it thousands of times in training and combat. Through his scope, he watched the alien formation cluster together. They were confused, scared, trying to understand what had killed their teammate. Their energy shields flickered at maximum power, but shields couldn't stop what they couldn't detect. Han Soo-jin saw her opportunity. The aliens had bunched up in the open, perfect targets for automatic weapons fire. She rose from cover and opened fire with her assault rifle. The weapon chattered on full automatic, sending 30 rounds downrange in rapid succession. Each bullet was armor-piercing, designed to punch through metal plate and ceramic armor. The first burst caught worker warrior Zixnal in his carapace. Biomechanical armor that could absorb plasma bolts shattered under kinetic impact. Green blood sprayed across his hive sister as he collapsed. Commander Scarthak tried to return fire, but his plasma rifle needed time to lock onto targets. The humans were shooting from concealment, using weapons that left no energy signature to track. His plasma bolt struck where Han Soo-jin had been firing, but she was already moving to a new position. The superheated energy turned stone to liquid, metal, but the target was gone. Fluxandra of the Luminari tried a different approach. As pure energy, she could move at light speed across the battlefield. She raced toward the human positions, lightning crackling around her form. But Yoon Jae-sung was ready for fast-moving targets. His first grenade detonated as the energy being passed overhead. The explosion sent thousands of metal fragments in all directions. Each fragment was tiny, moving at supersonic velocity. Together they formed a cloud of kinetic death that no shield could stop. Fluxandra's energy matrix disrupted as fragments tore through her form. She crashed to the ground, her lightning flickering and fading. Energy beings could phase through solid matter, but they couldn't phase through kinetic impacts moving faster than their reaction time. The nebuloid Mistalon tried to disperse into gas form to avoid damage, but Beck So Young had studied alien biology. She knew that gaseous species needed containment membranes to maintain cohesion. Her pistol barked twice. Small caliber bullets punctured Mistalon's force field generator. Without containment, the nebuloid warrior began to dissipate into the atmosphere. His conscious mind scattered with his gaseous form. In less than 30 seconds, 4 alien champions were dead or dying. The survivors huddled behind cover that had been designed to stop. Energy weapons, not kinetic projectiles. The viewing chambers erupted in chaos. Alien military leaders shouted in dozens of languages. Species that had dominated the galaxy for millennia watched their finest warriors fall to primitive chemical weapons. "This is impossible." Admiral Vextar's claws scraped against metal. "Kinetic. Weapons are obsolete technology." "Apparently not," observed a crystalline general. Her wind chime voice was thoughtful now, not mocking. "Their projectiles move too fast for our shields to track." Queen Zelnara's compound eyes focused on the away battlefield. "How do we fight enemies we cannot see? Their weapons produce no energy signature." A few alien commanders were beginning to understand the magnitude of their mistake. Energy weapons were impressive and destructive, but they announced their presence with light and heat. Kinetic weapons were silent until they struck. "Commander," Skarthak tried to rally his remaining forces. "Advance on their positions, use cover, watch for muzzle flashes." But the humans had been fighting kinetic weapon wars for centuries. They knew how to minimize muzzle signatures, how to shoot and move, how to make themselves invisible on a battlefield. Velnara of the Saurid Empire tried to charge the nearest human position. Her biomechanical claws could cut through any armor. But first she had to reach her target. Kang Hyun-sik's rifle cracked twice. The first shot shattered her energy shield generator. The second punched through her crystallized armor and into her chest cavity. She fell face first into the alien grass, claws still sparking with electrical discharge. Her enhanced reflexes had been useless against bullets she couldn't see coming. The remaining biomechanical warrior tried to use his living armor for protection. The organic metal could adapt to different threats, healing damage and adjusting its properties. But adaptation took time. Han Soo-jin's second burst of gunfire came before the armor could respond. 30 bullets in 3 seconds overwhelmed any biological healing factor. Cho Min-ho found his next target through his rifle scope. A Saurid heavy weapons specialist was setting up what looked like a crew-served plasma cannon. The weapon could probably level a building. The sniper's second shot traveled 750 meters and struck the alien in the head. The massive skull that could withstand plasma burns cracked like an egg under kinetic impact. The plasma cannon powered, down as its operator collapsed. 7 aliens dead in under 2 minutes. The survivors were in full panic mode. The insectoid hive sister tried to call for reinforcement from orbit, but arena rules forbade outside assistance. She was trapped on the ground with weapons she suddenly realized were useless. Her bioplasma spitters had never been tested against enemies who attacked from concealment. The organic weapons needed direct line of sight to be effective. She fired blindly at suspected human positions, hoping to hit something. Yoon Jae-sung's second grenade landed at her feet. The explosion sent metal fragments through her carapace, from multiple angles. Bioarmor that could absorb energy bolts was useless against physical projectiles moving at bullet velocities. In the viewing chambers, the betting pools were in chaos. No one had wagered on complete alien defeat. The odds makers had never imagined such an outcome was possible. "How are they doing this?" demanded a Luminari observer. "Kinetic weapons are primitive technology." "Primitive but effective," replied an elderly crystalline who had studied military history. "We forgot the lessons our ancestors learned. Kinetic energy is kinetic energy, regardless of how it's delivered." The remaining alien warriors were scattered, demoralized, and completely out of their tactical depth. They had trained to fight, energy weapons for their entire careers. They had no experience with enemies who killed from concealment using weapons that made no light. The humans moved through the ruins like professional soldiers. Every shot was aimed, every movement was calculated. They had turned the high-tech battlefield into their kind of war, and they were winning. The remaining 4 alien warriors crouched behind a fallen building, their advanced weapons useless against an enemy they couldn't see. Energy shields that had protected them through countless battles now offered no defense against simple metal, bullets. In the viewing chambers above, Admiral Vexistar watched his champions die with growing horror. His yellow eyes tracked movement that his sensors couldn't detect. The humans moved like ghosts, striking from concealment and disappearing before return fire could find them. "This is impossible," he growled. "We have the superior technology. We have energy shields and plasma weapons." But technology that had dominated the galaxy for millennia was proving useless. The aliens had built their entire military doctrine around energy weapons. Their tactics, their armor, their shields. Everything was designed for beam warfare. Commander Ro Jinwoo's voice crackled over the arena's communication system. The human officer stood in the observation deck reserved for team leaders, watching. His soldiers work with professional satisfaction. "You developed shields for energy weapons," he said calmly. "Armor for plasma and lasers. You forgot the most fundamental law of warfare. A small piece of metal in the right place at the right time beats any technology." Queen Zelenara's 4 arms trembled with rage and confusion. "Your weapons are primitive, chemical propellants, and metal bullets." "Yes," Ro Jinwoo agreed. "And they work." On the battlefield, the demonstration continued. The surviving aliens tried to adapt their tactics, but centuries of energy weapon warfare had made them predictable. They moved in patterns designed to avoid plasma bolts, not kinetic projectiles. The Saurid heavy weapons specialist attempted to set up covering fire with a portable plasma cannon. The weapon could burn through starship hulls, but it needed several seconds to acquire targets and charge its firing sequence. Cho Min-ho put a bullet through the alien's skull before the weapon could power up. The plasma cannon shut down automatically as its operator slumped over the controls. The last insectoid warrior tried to use her biomechanical enhancements for protection. She could secrete hardened chitin plates that deflected energy weapons. But the organic armor was designed for heat and radiation, not kinetic impact. Han Soo-jin's rifle sent 3 rounds center mass. The bullets punched through bioarmor that could stop plasma bolts. Green ichor splattered the alien grass as another champion fell. Only 2 aliens remained alive. They huddled behind inadequate cover, trying to understand how their superior technology was failing them. The nebuloid warrior Vapor Thul attempted to disperse into gas form for concealment. But gases were predictable. They followed air currents and pressure differentials. Yoon Jae-sung had studied atmospheric dynamics. A well-placed explosive charge created a pressure wave that compressed the gaseous warrior back into solid form. Before Vapor Thul could disperse again, Baek So-young put 2 bullets through his containment membrane. Commander Scarthak was alone now, surrounded by the corpses of his companions. His plasma rifle was fully charged. His energy shields were at maximum power. He was the finest warrior in the Saurid fleet. None of it mattered. He faced an enemy that his training had never prepared him for. Kang Hyun-sik emerged from cover 50 meters away. The human sergeant walked forward calmly, his rifle held ready but not immediately threatening. His weathered face showed no emotion. "Surrender," he said in English. The alien translator converted the words to the Saurid language. Scarthak's response was a plasma bolt that could have melted a tank. The superheated beam struck the ground where the human had been standing, turning soil into glass. But Kang Hyun-sik was already moving. Decades of combat had taught him to read enemy intentions. He fired twice while rolling to new cover. Both bullets struck Scarthak's energy shield generator. The device sparked and died, leaving the massive alien without protection. A third shot punched through his crystallized armor and found his heart. The last alien champion fell to his knees, then forward onto his face. His plasma rifle discharged harmlessly into the ground as his claws relaxed in death. Silence settled over the battlefield. 12 of the galaxy's finest warriors lay dead in the alien grass. Their advanced weapons cooled slowly, plasma cells, finally exhausting their stored energy. The 5 human soldiers emerged from cover and walked toward the center of the arena. Their primitive weapons had triumphed over technology that represented millions of years of development. In the viewing chambers, chaos reigned. Alien spectators shouted in dozens of languages. Military leaders demanded explanations that no one could provide. The betting pools were in complete disarray. How? Admiral Vextar's voice was barely above a whisper. How did chemical weapons defeat plasma rifles? Commander Rojin Wu's explanation was clinical, delivered with the precision of a military instructor. Your weapons are impressive light shows. They announce their positions with light and heat. Our weapons are invisible until they kill you. He gestured toward the battlefield where his soldiers were checking the alien bodies. You've been fighting energy weapon wars for so long that you forgot the basics. Kinetic energy doesn't care about your shields. Metal bullets don't care about your armor ratings. Queen Zelnara's compound eyes reflected the arena's lights like broken mirrors. But kinetic weapons are obsolete. Everyone knows that. Everyone was wrong, Rojin Wu replied. You developed countermeasures for the weapons you understood. But no one remembers how to fight bullets anymore. The human team leader continued his lecture as medical drones began removing alien corpses. Your plasma rifles are impressive, but they need time to charge and lock onto targets. Your energy shields protect against beams, but they can't deflect solid matter moving at supersonic velocity. Your bioweapons are sophisticated, but they need line of sight to be effective. Your lightning guns are powerful, but electricity follows predictable paths. Your acid weapons are deadly, but they move slowly. A crystalline observer in the viewing chamber made wind chime sounds of distress. But our armor is virtually indestructible. It can withstand direct hits from plasma cannons. Against energy weapons, yes, Rojin Wu agreed. But armor is rated for specific threats. Your crystalline plates are designed to dissipate heat and deflect energy beams. They shatter like glass when hit by kinetic projectiles. The implications began to sink in. Every military force in the galaxy used similar technology. Energy shields, plasma weapons, beam rifles, particle cannons. All of them were useless against an enemy that still used kinetic weapons. Your soldiers move in formations designed for energy weapon warfare, the human commander continued. You cluster together because plasma bolts have limited area effects. You advance in the open because energy shields protect you from beam weapons. But bullets don't care about your formations. Kinetic weapons work better against group targets, and cover that stops plasma bolts might not stop armor-piercing rounds. Admiral Vextar's claws scraped against the observation deck's railing. This changes everything. Our entire military doctrine is compromised. Yes, Rojin Wu said simply. It is. The human soldiers had finished their battlefield assessment. They walked back toward their entrance with the same calm professionalism they had shown throughout the fight. Their weapons were safed, their equipment was secured. To them, this had been a training exercise with live targets. Nothing more, nothing less. We've been fighting wars for our entire species' history, Rojin Wu explained. Wars with kinetic weapons, chemical explosives, and metal bullets. We know how to kill effectively at long range without announcing our presence. Your technology is impressive, but it made you predictable. You forgot that warfare is about putting ordnance on target, not creating the most spectacular light show. The arena's medical drones finished their grisly work. 12 alien champions had entered the proving ground. None would leave alive. In less than 10 minutes, 5 human soldiers with primitive weapons had destroyed a team of galactic warriors armed with the most advanced technology available. The lesson was clear, brutal, and undeniable. In warfare, effectiveness mattered more than sophistication, and nobody in the galaxy was more effective at killing than the humans. The balance of power had just shifted permanently. The galaxy's greatest military forces would have to completely rebuild their doctrines, retrain their soldiers, and redesign their equipment, or they would have to make peace with the species that still knew how to fight the old way. The council chambers that had echoed with alien laughter just hours before now, filled with urgent whispers and fearful discussions. Representatives from across the galaxy huddled together, their confidence shattered like crystalline armor under kinetic impact. Kim Tae-ho walked to the speaking platform with the same calm dignity he had shown before the combat trials. Behind him, General Park Do-won and Engineer Lee Na-ri took their positions. The three humans looked exactly the same as they had that morning, but everything else had changed. Admiral Vextar's yellow eyes no longer held contempt. The massive Saurid leader had watched his finest warriors die in minutes, killed by weapons his species considered museum pieces. His claws tapped nervously against the council table. "The combat trials are concluded," Kim Tae-ho announced. The terms were clear. If humanity won, we would discuss partnership as equals. Queen Zelnara's forearms moved frantically. Her compound eyes reflected the chamber's lights in patterns of obvious distress. This changes everything. Our entire military structure is based on energy weapon warfare." "Yes," General Park Do-won agreed. "It is." The simple statement sent ripples of panic through the alien representatives. Species that had dominated the galaxy for millennia suddenly realized they were helpless against an enemy they had dismissed as primitive. The lead crystalline representative, whose name sounded like breaking ice, spoke in bell tones that rang with fear. "How many worlds have you militarized with these kinetic weapons?" Lee Na-ri adjusted her glasses and smiled. "All of them. Every human colony, every outpost, every space station. We've been preparing for galactic contact since we first detected your civilizations 50 years ago." This was not entirely true, but the aliens didn't need to know that. Earth's colonies were defended, but not to the extent she implied. Sometimes strategic ambiguity was more valuable than actual military strength. A luminary commander flickered with nervous energy. "You planned this. You knew our military doctrine was vulnerable to kinetic weapons." "We studied your transmissions," General Park Do-won confirmed. "Your entertainment media, your historical records, your tactical manuals, everything you broadcast into space told us about your energy weapon dependence. We realized that galactic warfare had evolved beyond kinetic weapons," Kim Tae-ho added, "which meant you had no defenses against them. No countermeasures, no tactics, no experience." Admiral Vextar's voice was hoarse with defeat. "What do you want?" Kim Tae-ho opened a folder and placed several documents on the speaking platform. "A mutual defense treaty, technology sharing agreements, equal representation in the Galactic Confederation, and immediate withdrawal of your ultimatum. In exchange," General Park Do-won continued, "humanity will provide military consulting services. We'll help you develop countermeasures for kinetic weapons. We'll train your forces in anti-projectile tactics." The implications were staggering. Every military force in the galaxy would need to be completely restructured. Billions of credits worth of energy weapons would become obsolete overnight. Entire industries built around plasma technology would collapse. But the alternative was worse. Any species that refused human assistance would be defenseless against kinetic weapon attacks. They would be sitting targets for any enemy that adopted human military doctrine. Queen Zelnara was the first to understand the new reality. "You're offering to teach us how to fight against your own weapons?" "Some of them," Lee Na-ri replied. "Basic countermeasures, defensive tactics. We're not going to give away all our secrets." She paused and let her words sink in. "What we demonstrated today were standard infantry weapons, basic military equipment that every human soldier carries." "Basic?" The word came from a dozen alien throats in multiple languages. "Oh yes." Lee Na-ri's smile was cold. "We have much more advanced systems. Railguns that fire projectiles at significant fractions of light speed. Kinetic orbital bombardment systems, guided ammunition that can adjust course during flight. But those are for serious military threats," General Park Do-won added. "Today was just a demonstration with standard equipment." The alien representatives exchanged glances filled with terror. If human infantry weapons could destroy galactic champions so easily, what could their advanced systems do to entire fleets? Admiral Vextar's voice was barely above a whisper. "How long have you been developing these weapons?" About 3,000 years, Kim Tae-ho replied. We've been refining kinetic weapon technology since we invented gunpowder. Every war taught us new lessons about killing efficiently at long range. Your species, he continued, developed energy weapons and then stopped innovating in other areas. You forgot that there are many ways to deliver lethal force to a target. The nebuloid representative materialized a face in their gas cloud. What are your terms for this treaty? Kim Tae-ho gestured to the documents he had placed on the platform. Equal voting rights in the Confederation Council, access to galactic, trade networks and technology databases, unrestricted colonization rights in unclaimed systems. In exchange, humanity will establish military training centers on key worlds. We'll help develop kinetic weapon countermeasures. We'll provide security consulting for species that request it. General Park Do-won stepped forward. Make no mistake, this is not charity. This is business. You need what we can provide. We need access to your technology and resources. But choose quickly, Linari added. Word of today's demonstration will spread. Other species will realize the advantages of kinetic weapons. You want to be prepared before they start building their own arsenals. This was the final stroke of genius. The humans had not only demonstrated their military superiority, they had created a market for their services. Every species would need protection against kinetic weapon attacks. Only humanity could provide that protection. The vote was held within the hour. The Galactic Confederation unanimously approved the Terra Accord, establishing humanity as an equal partner in galactic civilization. The species that had demanded submission just days before now competed to offer the most favorable trade agreements. Admiral Vextar was among the first to sign bilateral defense contracts. The Saurid Empire would retrofit their entire fleet with kinetic weapon countermeasures, guided by human military advisors. Queen Zelnara authorized the construction of joint training facilities where insectoid warriors would learn to fight against projectile weapons. The irony was not lost on anyone. Aliens learning warfare from the species they had considered primitive. The crystalline Vorthak began developing new armor composites that could absorb kinetic impacts. The Luminari researched shield technologies that could deflect solid projectiles. The nebuloids worked on dispersion techniques that might protect against explosive fragmentation. But they all knew the truth. They were playing catch-up in a game where humanity had a 3,000-year head start. The best they could hope for was to avoid complete obsolescence. 6 months later, Sergeant Kang Hyun-sik stood on a training range watching a mixed group of alien recruits practice basic marksmanship. Saurid claws struggled with human-designed triggers. Insectoid workers learned to operate bolt-action rifles with multiple arms. The transformation was remarkable. Species that had once relied entirely on energy weapons were learning the ancient art of putting metal on target. Their accuracy was terrible, but they were improving. A young crystalline recruit approached the human instructor. Her prismatic form reflected rainbow patterns in the afternoon sun. Sergeant, why are kinetic weapons so much more effective than plasma rifles? Kang Hyun-sik considered the question carefully. Through his translator, he spoke in simple words that the alien could understand. Energy weapons announce themselves. They make light, heat, and noise. Everyone knows where the shot came from and where it's going. You can see plasma bolts coming and try to dodge them. He picked up a standard infantry rifle and worked the bolt action. The motion was smooth and practiced after decades of use. But bullets are different. You don't see them coming. You don't hear them until they've already passed. By the time you know you're being shot at, you're already hit. The galaxy spent thousands of years making weapons more spectacular. We spent thousands of years making them more deadly. Spectacular is impressive, but deadly wins wars. The crystalline recruit made wind chime sounds of understanding. So the primitive technology was actually superior. Not primitive, Kang Hyun-sik corrected. Refined. We've been perfecting kinetic weapons for 3 millennia. Every generation made them a little better, a little more accurate, a little more lethal. Your plasma rifles are impressive achievements of physics and engineering. But they solve the wrong problem. They create spectacular destruction when what you need is precise elimination. The recruit nodded, her crystalline form refracting the gesture into multiple angles. I think I understand. May I try the rifle again? Kang Hyun-sik handed her the weapon with a slight smile. Remember what I taught you. Breathe steadily. Sight alignment. Gentle trigger pressure. The bullet doesn't care about your species or your technology. It only cares about physics. He watched the young alien attempt to hit targets at 50 meters. The human instructor reflected on how much had changed. The galaxy was learning to fight the human way, one bullet at a time.